it just keeps getting worse for Bungie. So if you haven't heard, Bungie, the creators of Destiny, they have this new game coming out, this extraction shooter marathon. They had a pretty rough month with allegation after allegations and admittance of copyright or stealing art and content from other artists. Well, amidst all this controversy, a former developer at Bungie has spoken out about a toxic work culture at Bungie. And, every day we're hearing about a new game developer that has a toxic work culture. So Bungie Studios, now owned by Sony, who apparently is completely independent. So let me check this article. This article is summarizing a video by Destin, where it was claimed that Bungie actually pitched Destiny be a subscription-based game, and the developers vehemently shot down that idea. I haven't played Destiny myself, so you guys are gonna have to educate me. But from what I hear outside looking in, the game is getting heavily criticized for already becoming too expensive to play with all these expansions or whatever, end-game items, I don't know. Again, I'm not a Destiny player. I didn't do my research. I just think it's crazy to dump money into a game where older content is being shoved into the content vault, unable to be played again. The ex-employee told Destin, everything happening to Bungie is because of greed. Okay, maybe that explains all the copyright. At one point, cosmetic items that could be earned by the player were almost canceled by management because they worried that the items, which could be acquired for free, would impact microtransaction sales. Wait, so how does it feel to be a quote-unquote free player of Destiny? Another former employee said, Bungie being folded into PlayStation is the path forward. So this is what I was saying earlier. They keep saying, yeah, Sony owns Bungie, but Bungie is still independent. Sony's not stepping in, even though people were thinking that because so far this entire console generation, PlayStation has been extremely focused on live service games. We're just not really seeing the fruit of all of it because month after month we hear about all these service games that were canceled. And now maybe in the near future, Sony realized, yeah, that's not the way to go with these service games. Bungie now going service-like, especially with their new game Marathon, which took an old dormant IP about androids and aliens fighting or something. That's cool. I like that. And made it an extraction shooter where there's a cost to entry and a battle pass, which people obviously make the comparison to Concord. I don't think we know the price yet of what Marathon is going to be, but most importantly, a cost to entry for Marathon, the extraction shooter, looks kind of meh. The cinematic reveal was amazing for the game, but I don't see an extreme hype for it, and at least outside looking in, it looks like Destiny players are a bit tired of freemium style microtransactions everywhere. I would be too. My friend who has dumped over 1,000 hours into Destiny, I asked them what they thought of Marathon, and I quote, I don't care. So if the game already doesn't have a lot of hype around it and the developer is in a lot of flack amidst all this copyright controversy, and now former employees are taking interviews saying, hey, actually the workplace was extremely toxic. Again, I don't play their games, not a Destiny player, but I'm just here to laugh at the dumpster fire and to talk about the industry, of course. Now, with all these claims of a toxic workplace, as well as art theft, there is only one lawsuit taking place, and that is from Matthew Kelsey, who took Bungie to court saying that Bungie's Destiny 2, Red War, and Curse of Osiris DLC or campaign missions stole from their WordPress stories, which were published before Destiny 2 had even launched. Again, going back to unavailable content, those DLC campaign missions are apparently not available. So people paid for content that's not available. Y'all have to educate me, because outside looking in, this is absolutely nuts. I would be furious if I paid for stuff that I just can't play anymore. And hilariously enough, I'm sure some of you heard, Bungie had to go to wikis and lore videos from YouTube to prove that their campaigns were not stealing their WordPress stories, in which the course dismissed presenting evidence to the jury, a 45-minute Destiny 2 lore video to fall asleep to on youtube.com. And recently, artist Anti-Real said that her art was stolen for Marathon and the alpha gameplay. Here's her post. You can see that this asset elf is posted across multiple textures or models in the Marathon alpha, and this as well, these arrows with the squares, even these symbols, damn, that is unmistakable. And this is the most hilarious of them all. Anti-Real saying, I hid loss in my design 6 years ago and nobody caught on. Here from the future, if anyone doubts the theft of your art, this also confirms it. It is lost in the Marathon Alpha gameplay. Lost, if you don't know, is an old webcomic. It's a bit of a meme. It's a bit of those like reductive memes where, oh, you can just see symbols and you understand, and that's why it's funny because it's like an in-joke. Think about more recently, like how, the shapes are among us, you know, that whole idea. So it is blatant. And only when looking into this after these claims, there's a whole thread of this. This is an article from The Verge mid last year. Bungie will compensate an artist for Destiny 2 Nerf Blaster ripping off their work. Art by Tofu Rabbit. So let's see the comparison that Tofu Rabbit showed. So we already know they're compensating them. Oh man, that is unmistakable. So this is Bungie's Destiny 2 Nerf gun. You can see all the texture or designs are ripped off almost 1-to-1, besides just a few reorientation on the actual revolving barrel. And it just keeps going. This is from artist Element J21. I just realized Bungie took information from my piece for this week's cutscene. Certainly took me by surprise when I watched the cutscene. Yeah, that looks very similar. This was 2 years ago now, summer in 2023. Destiny's team saying we discovered an external vendor that helped to create this cutscene mistakenly used this art as reference. Okay, so they're still going with that one because I didn't even get to the resolution for the whole anti-real art marathon issue. I was going to say that for later, but that was essentially Bungie's response to this too, saying, we immediately investigated a concern regarding unauthorized use of art decals in Marathon and confirmed that a former Bungie artist included these in a texture sheet that was ultimately used in-game. This issue was unknown by our existing art team, and we are still reviewing how this oversight occurred. It was an oversight. It was an accident, guys. It's just one employee. There's one guy, one person that submitted this. We have reached out to Anti-Real to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. To prevent similar issues in the future, we are conducting a thorough review of our in-game assets, specifically those done by former Bungie artists, and implementing stricter checks to document all artists' contributions. Oh, don't worry, guys. Don't worry. A bunch of Bungie artists followed her on Twitter, Anti-Real. So, yep, to snipe more art. And Anti-Real said, yeah, that means that they were aware of her art to begin with before Marathon was a thing, or before the final stamp of pre-alpha gameplay was out there in players' hands. So it's kind of a big mess, even though Bungie has been taking accountability for now the past over 2 years. Oh, sorry, it's been more than over. This one's going back to all the way to 2021. Did Bungie use Relay 314's art? Bro, 2021, we have a problem here. There is a problem. Oh my God, there is a problem here. So it's on the back where these accusations of a toxic work culture becomes more serious, because it's like, how does all this art plagiarism slip through the cracks? It definitely falls in line of the narrative of a fast-paced, ask questions later, get it out the door type of workplace. And you know, agreed to, who's to say? We don't know for sure. But if Bungie employees were following Anti-Real and then this happened, yeah, maybe they are just trying to steal assets and do things cheaply. That we can only assume. But ex-Bungie devs reportedly saying, yeah, they're just doing everything for greed, does not paint a good picture. Also, all the layoffs that have happened in the past 2 years with Bungie, yeah, you know, I guess you could point back to what that one employee said, which is that everything Bungie's doing is for greed. It does all align with the same narrative. That's why I've been bringing up all the art debacle, because that stuff had to happen first. All the player annoyances with Destiny and Marathon costing money for a premium extraction shooter experience, to give what the former employees were saying legs to stand on, that they are greedy and it is a toxic workplace and they do prioritize DLC over actual content in the game, and that nothing the devs say is taken seriously unless it aligns with the leadership vision. So right before former Bungie devs were anonymously interviewed for this terrible workplace culture, on the Marathon's official YouTube channel, Marathon's art director and veteran of games and film industry, Joseph Cross, went on a live stream panel to address things. And man, did this not go over well with fans. And you can already see by his face Look at the defeat. Look at the anguish on his face. I have no idea what he's going through, what's going on at Bungie, but man, has it been messy. So I'm gonna watch this right now live, give a live reaction. Again, I don't play Destiny. I have no interest in Marathon. Well, the Marathon looks kind of cool, but that's just not my type of game. Bro, Joe Cross looks miserable right now. Look at him. Oh my God, Keyblade, copyright. The Mickey Mouse. You can't show that. They're stealing more art.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? I'm Joe. In case you don't know me, I'm the game director here on Marathon. To my left here.
Well, that's going to be confusing when I talk. They're both named Joe, so I will call Joe Cross the art director of Marathon, Mr. Cross, and Joe, our Keyblade wielding fellow, who I'm sure has a very decorative history as well.
Our show is a little bit different today. We planned actually to show a lot more stuff, but for a lot of reasons we're about to get into, we decided not to show a bunch of this stuff. But we are going to be discussing a lot about what we learned through Alpha, some of the plans that we're going forward with. But before we get into that, Joe Cross has some sort of topic that he wants to talk to you all about.
Some sort of topic, guys.
Some of the events from yesterday. It came to our attention. And sorry, I wrote this. I wanted to make sure I get this message right. It came to our attention that an artist who worked on Marathon.
It's pre-recorded. It's a pre-recorded statement.
In the early stages of pre-production, took a number of graphic elements from a graphic designer without permission or acknowledgement and placed them on a decal sheet that was then checked in 2020.
Right. The tweets we were looking at from Anti-Real was from 2017. So Mr. Cross is saying that in 2020, those were checked in. 5 years since the alpha of Marathon, and it's just that one artist that is no longer working at Bungie. You would think that they were a pretty high ranked artist if that is decals that were on assets in the alpha. Well, if not high rank, at least reviewed by high rank artists.
And there's absolutely no excuse for this oversight, and we are working on and 100% committed to our review process to ensure instances like this don't happen again on Marathon or at Bungie.
Yeah, I mean, that's what should have been said years ago with what was happening in Destiny 2. And I'm sorry for pausing so much. If you guys want to watch the original, it will be in the description. I have to pause every so often because that's what makes content transformative. It's almost like Bungie itself needs to respond to this. I mean, Mr. Cross has to sit through and talk about Marathon and say that this led to an audit across other Bungie products as well. This is not the first time it happened. That's why I was like, I had to make this video because I looked at it and it was like, yo, this is a list, a string of instances. There is a pattern here.
We've reached out to Anti-Real, the artist in question, and followed up to ensure that we do right by this artist. We're auditing all of the previous work by the artist, the internal artist, including the environment decals already in the build, which is part of why we're delaying some of the content we're going to show today.
Wow. So they have to actually go through, yeah, well, of course, the build. So how would they even know? Look at concept art or these texture sheets, and then from there, see what went into the build of the game, and then make a new build with this removed? That's kind of a disaster. I mean, when a studio needs to put up alpha gameplay to be play tested by the community, wouldn't you think it was other types of feedback that led to a new build of the game to lead to the beta, then the final golden version of the game? But no, it's just another instance of Bungie stealing art. Again, we keep going back to what the ex-employee said, and that's why it's making headlines that greed is the narrative here.
We're doing a very broad decal audit, and if we locate any other details or elements, we'll make sure that those are eliminated, recreated in-house. Hundreds of artists have worked on this project for years, internally and externally, and we share many influences, including modernism, Swiss typography, 2000s style vector art, cyberpunk, and of course the original Marathon trilogy.
And there you go. That's if you're finding a bunch of similarities between this and other things, hey, a lot of people worked on this. And of course, we take inspiration from many different styles and settings through pre-existing art and archetypes of things like post-apocalyptic, Android, cyberpunk. So I think what we learned is, hey, artists out there, don't forget to put in little Easter eggs in your art in case it ever gets stolen blatantly. That's how the internet was able to artistically fingerprint that loss was put into the game, and it really was Anti-Real's art.
It's also worth noting that none of our external partners who've worked on branding or any part of the visual design of our game were involved with this situation.
So the first half of this was an apology. This part is now a defense. Anyone from here on after their buy-in within the plaintiff has not involved with any of this art theft.
And so to that extent, I want to send my personal apology to Anti-Real. Her work is fantastic, and we clearly share mutual appreciation for a specific genre of graphic design, and it's very exciting, and I'm excited to have folded that into our style in general. So thanks for listening, and thanks for your patience.
She didn't have a choice. We have a mutual appreciation. Yeah, I got an eye for your talents. Hey, and I want to say right now, this is not an attack at Mr. Cross. Mr. Cross has to represent Bungie, who's been under fire many times for this exact thing. He's the one that's having to apologize and speak for it. So I'm not saying, hey, it's just him deflecting or a little bit of a tone deaf apology. I don't think that representing the whole company of Destiny, Bungie, sorry, can just speak off the cuff of this incident.
Thank you, Joe, for coming in and chatting with us about that. Yeah, if you have any further questions about that, feel free to ask them as we go along. We're probably going to transition now and just talk a little bit about Alpha.
We can't see any gameplay because they have to redo the build. I don't care about Marathon. I was just here for that opening statement. I'm sorry. If you care about Marathon, tell me why it's hype. Oh, this was streamed on YouTube too. Hold on, I gotta see this. Took some elements from a decal sheet. You stole her whole flow. You and the other members of the art team followed her. Yeah, that's what Anti-Real said, was that they were already following her, which is the whole extreme suspect thing here. And that was 2017 that she made them. These decal sheets were submitted in 2020. That's a hard pill to swallow. It does not look good. Stolen art in the game still looks like ass. Oh no. So I looked into it. People were spamming plagiarism will make me God over and over again. Think like drop the price on the Nintendo streams. People were doing that for any Marathon promotional things, just spamming plagiarism will make me God. It's a reference to a tagline used in Marathon, like the OG games, which is escape will make me God. Is this former employee in the room with us? That's what I'm saying. It changed my opinion seeing Bungie's official statement with older accusations and admittance to stealing art for Destiny 2. Or it's just like, oh yeah, our bad. It slipped through the cracks. We're sorry. Our whole team followed an independent artist and plagiarized their work. To make it better, we're going to take responsibility by pinning it all on one guy who doesn't work here anymore. Plagiarism will make me God. Oh, breaking news. I was editing this at 6 a.m. and more news drop. Report is there will likely be a Marathon delay because Sony canceled all paid marketing for the game. A new report claims Sony has now canceled all paid marketing plans for the upcoming game Marathon, which was originally slated to be released September 23rd. All talk around Marathon has been very bad lately, with all this admitted guilt in plagiarism as well as devs speaking out towards a toxic workplace. Multiple sources say morale among developers is in free fall, with many team members feeling frustrated by leadership and overall direction of the Marathon project. Some have called Marathon's leadership toxic and humiliating to work with, where concerns of focusing on PvP only was brought up early but was completely ignored by higher ups. So the devs knew that, hey, maybe having a game that was an original single player first person shooter game, I guess you could say it's a boomer shooter genre, and making it just an extraction shooter is a pretty gross use of a dormant IP. So we heard in the last podcast that they didn't even show more gameplay because they had to thoroughly audit the assets in the build in order to make sure that there was no new instances of plagiarism. Well, now a new report claimed Sony has canceled all paid marketing plans for Marathon, and this news is coming from Colin Moriarty. With everything going on, the art plagiarism controversy, mixed to negative feedback from the closed alpha, and no paid marketing plans from Sony, it's hard not to see a delay on the horizon. None of this is confirmed. Reports are coming from an insider, so take it with a grain of salt. Are we going to see Sony pull a plug on another live service game? Is that what is about to happen? I feel for the fans of Marathon who were incredibly hyped that the IP was going to be brought up into the modern age, but if they were Destiny 2 players, they probably would have known that this was going to be some service type of game. As you could say, it is now in Bungie's DNA, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like you can blame Activision or now Sony for this type of behavior. It's just sad to see, Bungie, definitely a celebrated developer, falling to this in the great plague that is live service games. But it's not even the service games that are the issue here, it's also just the constant demand to turn up a profit. I don't know, do you guys think that if it is so dead on arrival that Sony is just going to pull the plug and this game is not even dead on arrival, it is just dead before arrival? And also, if this happens in all the drama and there is a restructuring or reorg of Bungie, Sony could just step in and absorb them. But that's all speculation. I just needed to cover the new report that Sony has canceled marketing, which could, also be because Bungie said, we need to audit any existing trailer footage or any existing footage from any builds of the game to make sure that there is no plagiarism. What a disaster. Well, guys, that's the Bungie Marathon situation. Moving forward, I want this channel to be more me reacting to news with you guys versus a news channel. This is not a source of news. I am not a journalist. I just like to talk about games and the industry. So let's say this is a reaction channel now. Thanks, guys, for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.